Okay, well, it'll be my first video for the year, I think. Uh, Today is 2nd of January, and thought I'd throw a video up here. I get a lot of people that come in my channel that sometimes I wonder why they come up with the things they do. Part of it is they think I haven't looked at documentation or proof of what's going on in Otter Creek between Mr. Hales and Preston. And I'm not sure why they insist on saying things that really aren't true. And seems like there's a lot of people out there reinterpret, I guess for lack of a better thing, their personal opinions without looking at the real legalities about it. And a lot of these channels are jumping on the bandwagon of looking at the bad side of everything, or at least what they consider the bad things, and expound on them. And I try to look at things as if I was in that person's shoes, whether it be the ones that are aggressive or the ones that are receiving the torment. And most of you know that I don't particularly care for people that use bullying tactics. And I know there's a lot of people out there think that's a great tool to use. And more than likely, they haven't had too many bullies get after them over the years, maybe. I don't know. But people that do things just because they can doesn't mean that they're right, okay? And human nature being what it is, when somebody reacts to another person and they react in the same way, kind of like fighting fire with fire, pretty soon then it's a reaction to a reaction to a reaction. It never really stops. And a lot of times the court is the one that has to do that for them. And the problem with like this situation out there is a number of channels have been involved, as well as a lot of people. And when a rumor gets out there, by the time it hits the air, a lot of times it's been through 3 or 4 different social medias and does not resemble the real facts a lot of times. Now, yes, according to those people that jumped my channel, I did see where Jeremy made measurements across a narrow roadway, one that is legal in the state of Louisiana. But they still have rules about driving to the right of a road regardless of the width, because if it's made for two-way traffic, then that's just the way it is. People have to pull off or pull way over into the shoulder, whatever it takes, so that they can travel in different directions on one road. So for all you guys that wrote and told me I didn't know what I was talking about or what I was doing, the statutes are pretty plain in the state of Florida. You are still to keep to the right of the roadway, not drive down the left side of it. So there. It is also against the law to have your phone in one hand and be utilizing it while you're driving with the other hand. Now, it would be distracted driving no matter what. So for all you people that say, yeah, too bad, it's okay to break the law. Is that what you're saying? You don't mind it? Because a huge amount of the accidents in the United States today are caused just by that. It is one of the biggest causes of accidents, is that little phone that you've got in your hand. And I know you think that when you're inside that little cubicle, the cabin of your car, you think you're safe from everything, and you are not. When you run into something, the chances of you passing away are very high. And if you don't have your seatbelt on, it's worse yet. So, you know, if you think that it's all right for people to just indiscriminately break the law, well, you're all wet, quite frankly. Now, I don't go on anybody's channel and tear them a new butt. I just don't do that. Now, I've had people come on here and give me their opinion, and they were good about it, and their opinion stays on there. I don't take it off when they're putting it on there and not being nasty when they put it on there. I also noticed that some of these channels out here that seem to take a delight in swearing and cussing and raising Cain. I don't know where they get that, and I don't know how they grew up. I can only guess that it was in a household where things like that may have been allowed, or they may have been a child that didn't behave at home either. You know, society, to get along in society, if you want to really be accepted in society, you got to leave some of those things behind you. You just can't get out there and pretend like you're everything, because when you get out there and you open up your mouth, you prove that you may be worth less than zero. The only thing that we really have is ourselves, and you really want to put on your best behavior when you're out in public. And this thing, really, you're out in public, even though the public don't know where you're at. You're still on here momentarily, and you have an influence. And you really want it to be more of a positive influence than a negative one, if at all possible. Now, usually in a few minutes, these channels that love to swear, they just make you sick to your stomach, quite frankly. And I never listen to more than a few minutes if I happen to hit one of these channels like that, because it is so, they don't have a lot to say in real terms. And they think that the shock effect of using four-letter words is a great thing in the world, and they got to put them in every sentence. One person out there that does that continuously is one they call Storm Trooper, I think. Now, I know everybody over there in England doesn't talk like that, because I've been to England a couple of times. Matter of fact, I was in quite a few different European countries, as well as even Spain, and I never heard anybody talk like that continuously, but maybe I was in the wrong crowd. But like in Germany, I mean, I spent a couple of years there, and I could speak enough German to understand swearing when it comes about, and it was rare, if any. Most guest houses, you know, where you drink your beer at, they call them guest houses. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was a lot of times there was families in there, and it wasn't disruptive, and people were fairly courteous in those places. Matter of fact, most of the problems may have been my own countrymen, you know, servicemen not used to alcohol, getting in there and getting a few too many and arguing with each other and then causing a disruption and maybe get thrown out. But as far as the countrymen, in 2 years that I was over there, I never seen a family misbehave and get thrown out of a guest house. Let's put it that way. So when they get on the line here and they start acting like a big piece of shit, and that's what they're acting like, as far as I'm concerned, my opinion is that Stormtrooper does that all the time. And he'd probably make more sense if he used his noggin a little bit and tried to complete a full sentence where every word meant something. I don't know. I just don't have faith in him. I don't think he has it in him to behave himself. I just don't. And I think he thinks that it makes him look like a big shot or something, but he's not. Oh, and I'm not saying I haven't ever swore in my life, because there's been times when you work in construction a lot of most of your life, you're going to pick up the language. Believe me, there's very few that escape without bringing some of that language home with them. My kids heard enough of it when they were young, and matter of fact, I got taught a big lesson one day, and that curtailed most of the swearing in the house, almost all of it. So I know it can be controlled. Oh, there was some other things I wanted to talk about today, but I guess when I see some of these places, I get so disappointed in the childishness of the whole thing. I don't understand it. Why people think the shock effect is going to get them somewhere. You know, everybody's entitled to an opinion, as far as I'm concerned. And there's always a way of presenting it without making a lot of enemies. You don't have to make enemies. And just because two people don't agree on the different points of a story don't mean that they have to be enemies either. They don't have to be friends. And it's just a matter of being able to express without getting carried away. I don't know how else to put it. I really don't. One of the things that really kind of bothered me too was, you know, the other day when I found out what this little girl, I mean, she's 5 years old now, but what she went through when she was 3 or 4, and what she must have thought while going through this stuff. You know, most of the people out there know that the mother has been turned in somewhere between 27 and 28 times to the Child Protective Services. And they've never been written up. And we've seen an open-end telephone conversation where the services ask for a sheriff to be, to accompany them out there to the residence for the inspection. And the reason that they were called was, they were being called because supposedly there was physical assault going on out there. And apparently it was turned in that the physical assault was on the child. Now, when that happens, the child ends up being stripped down to being naked. And they take pictures of the entire body to include private parts, so that they can be put in the report. Now, a child that age, when stuff like that happens, and, you know, it's adults that have to do this. And, you know, a parent, most parents will tell their children, if you are touched in an inappropriate way, or if somebody removes clothing from you, that's not, you shouldn't, don't let them do that. It's inappropriate. You let us know right away, scream and do all kinds of stuff. And then along comes an outfit, and they strip this little child down. And the child, you know, children at 4 or 5 years old, they're not dumb. And when they've been told one thing, but something else has to happen, and the parent has to tell them, it's okay, this person can do that. They get to the point where they don't know what happens when the parent isn't around. What if another adult comes along and says, we're from the Child Protective Services, and we want you to strip down. It's a scary situation, because this child now has been trained that professionals like that can come in and ask that to happen, that the privacy is taken away from this little girl because somebody turned them in for a physical act. Now, in my mind, whoever turned them in, because whoever it was a hearsay type deal. It wasn't, you know, there was no proof, nothing like that. The people were found that never happened. It never happened. They should be charged. This person that turned it in. They after all, when the phone call is called in, there is a number that it called from. That should be able to be traced back to somewhere, someone. And if these happen enough, it seems like somebody should be open to charges. And when it happens that many times with no findings, that is a scary thought. You know, it's the same thing in my mind as being swatted, where police are called, they come to your house with guns drawn and demand entrance because they've had a complaint about assault going on, and they won't leave until they've checked everybody in the house. Or maybe they think that somebody's been hurt. Maybe somebody's set off, sounds like a gun. And then they can come in and they don't need permission to come through your door at that point because it's suspicion. And they might be completely all wrong. And what you've done is you've set somebody up to some real heartaches along the line and damage to their house that rarely is repaid. Insurances don't cover it. There's because the police have immunity, they don't have to pay for it. It's part of the job. You're stuck with it, you the homeowner. So when something like this happens, and it did happen to Michelle, they had to come to her place and do this. I don't know who this person was that turned them in, and to this day they probably think it was okay to do that. It was completely wrong, I can tell you. To put this little girl through that kind of a ordeal, and it can be mental torture. Because now you've absolutely set this girl up, because she will be very confused if somebody comes along and says, we're from the CPS and we want you to strip. She's going to be very confused. I hope you're happy that you did something like this to that family. I implore you to use your head a little bit. I know you think you're justified because you've been told over and over and over what this little girl is going through, but it's been proved over and over and over she is not. A doctor's certificate was shown here by 2 leads in a pod, showing that the mother has followed medical profiles and that this girl is in very good shape. I don't think you understand 24/7 this mother has taken care of this little girl. It must be heartbreaking, and I imagine a lot of tears have been shed and still are over this ordeal that they're being put through. And we all feel that we're justified in our opinions. I feel that I'm justified because I think they need protection. You feel justified because you think that child shouldn't be there. And yet all the professionals have said, yes, this child needs to be there with her mother. All the professionals that have visited that household all agree about one thing, and that is justified for that child to be with that mother. I don't know what else you need. You're taking the word of one person who has spread it to a number of people. And yet the people that have met Harley and Michelle and John all agree that this family should stay together. Now, yes, I know you've got some other people now that have said, no, that shouldn't happen, that they don't belong together. Most of them have never heard of this person unless they heard it from a fellow named Jeremy. He is the common denominator in that whole thing. And you hold this guy up on a pedestal as if every word he says is correct, and yet it's been proven over and over it is not. He's proven his inability to get along with people because he got into it with a neighbor right off the bat. No negotiating, just get after him, raise hell. And then another one, raise hell. And yet another one called John and Michelle. and raised Cain. This little town has been turned upside down. It's called Otter Creek. It's been turned upside down by one person. One person started it and turned it all upside down. They went along fine for a lot of years. The water is part of the equation, and it still hasn't been solved. And that council is completely turned upside down. Different mayor, different council members, and yet they still don't have clean water. We're being bamboozled out here. I was bamboozled when I first looked at it. You know, if you know of a perfect parent, please let me know, because I've never seen a perfect parent yet. Some parents believe in corporal punishment to a certain extent, and when I say corporal punishment, I'm not meaning about getting out a whip and whipping somebody or taking a belt off and beating on them. I don't mean that kind of. It might be a light spanking or a light slap or whatever, but you know, parents use different styles of discipline, and our children reflect those styles. And when you have children, I know you've all been to a grocery store, when you've got children running rampant up and down the aisles and running into people and knocking things over and yelling and screaming. And if you think that's right, it is not. It's means the children are out of control, and they haven't been disciplined by their parents to the point of understanding what it's like to be out in society. And when they grow up, they think that no matter what they do is right, it's okay. But you have to learn one way or the other consequences of the actions that you have. And the best thing you can do for a child is to teach them the same thing. And I'm not saying you have to be mean to them, but you have to figure out, what does it take for that child? Every child is different, and it takes different types of discipline to bring them into the fold. Our prisons today are full of people that were never taught how to live in society. When there's somebody in your face all the time, that's not a good person. You can't do that to people. You have to learn how to negotiate the terms so that you can come up with at least livability around each other. It doesn't matter whether it's a neighbor or somebody sitting next to you in a theater. There's a certain amount of tolerance and give and take. It's hard to sit at a table if you've been taught to keep your mouth shut, except when you're eating, you don't smack your lips going. But other people have been taught that's the best way to taste food, because part of that air mixed with the food gives you this full body of food. So every society has a different way of enjoying a meal. Some societies, if you don't smack your lips, they don't think you like the food. In other societies, and the main societies here in the U.S., they ask you to keep it somewhat quiet. Now, anytime my father was around the table, there wasn't a whole lot of talking. When my dad wasn't there, we all conversed back and forth. My dad was a quiet individual and didn't like noise. He would go like that if it was a loud, squeaky noise of some kind. So the family learned how to live around it. You know, he had his way, and the rest of the family had their way. So if he wasn't there, they were very comfortable in their talk and not worry about being disciplined. And I've said in other households where it might be even worse than that you know, you held your hand down in your lap and tried to figure out how you can eat with one hand. How do you butter your bread with one hand in your lap, right? And I'm pushing that a little bit too far. Getting back to these calls that have been made on this family, no matter how you feel, there's more people that have seen her that agree with that the family should be left alone than the people that have not seen her and come up and they start giving all these stories. They've never met her, don't know anything about her, never talked to her. They're going by what's one person. One person started. One person. Well, maybe two, okay? A man and a woman that have made it their life to do this thing, to bring these other people to their knees. Now, these people, John and Michelle, don't have the means to stand up and hire lawyer after lawyer after lawyer. They can't. And right now, pro bono legalese are helping them out. You know, it's actually 3 different lawyers that are trying to clear a path for him and equalize justice system for him. The other person has had 2 modes of getting money for legal. One is a fund was set up, a GoFund, and the other one was a direct link back to his lawyer, that people could send the money directly to the lawyer. Now, that guy has plenty of money. Matter of fact, he's considered a millionaire. I don't know how much money he actually has, but he claims to have no money, but claims to have a lot of things. And he needs more money so he can give more money away. You tell me. A lot of oxymorons there. With an emphasis on the latter. But when I think about it, and that's what I'm doing, and that's why I ended up sticking up for John and Michelle and Harley's case. And I don't ask him to be perfect, and it took a long time before I would even come close to saying that I was for him. It really did take a long time. But the more that I seen of people that were around him and interfaced, I could see that, hey, they just needed a chance. That's all they ask. They want to be part of the society of the town so that they can conduct normal family, being outside, going to the post office, going to a store to get something to eat, go to a restaurant. The things that normal people are able to do without harassment, and yet they can't. There's surveillance 24/7 to their property. And they can't pull out of their driveway without being noticed, without an alarm going off of some kind. Now, so they didn't have much for security until recently. And they put up a privacy fence, and the people have been able to skirt any law you might expect by driving at a higher elevation and taking pictures as they drive by. And I don't know how many people are doing it. I know at least one is, because the Prestons do have security cameras, although they don't point at somebody else's property. They do point up and down their property so that anybody driving past their property in the public use area will get seen on there. That way, if somebody drives up and tries to get into their fence, through the gate or by any other means, they'll know about it, and they'll know who it is. They didn't put those up there to be mean. They put that stuff up there for security alone. Now, these people that are going on, that have a protection order against John and Michelle, I think have taken advantage of it and actually weaponized it. That would be my estimation and my opinion. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a judge. And I don't know how all these things work, actually. I do know, let's put it this way. I understand a lot of the language because I've had to work within a courtroom situation before through our company. But I'm not one that draws up legal paperwork so that they can be served and acted on. Let's put it that way. The lawyers that are involved in this thing, I have no idea of their capabilities, nor do I have an idea much of their backgrounds. pretty much we have to take it at their word. I mean, they're willing. The ones that are working for John and Michelle are not getting paid. The one that's working for Jeremy obviously is getting paid. Plus, a GoFundMe. And there's two different ways for him to collect, by the way. One is direct to his office, and the other is a GoFund. If you go on the internet, the GoFund will show up right away. You can't miss it. Okay, it's there. And I don't know if they're still putting money into it, but there's still a place there to send your money if you wish. What a deal that is. And when they have their lives, the super chats, there's money rolling in there like you wouldn't believe. Now, John and Michelle have never had a super chat. And the funding has been really very small from the very beginning. They're trying to do everything they can to live just a simple life. They're not asking for thousands and millions of dollars and stuff like that. They just want to be able to live a normal life. That's it. We're the only ones that can ensure it by leaving them alone. All we got to do is back off. But that's not good enough. You know, even during the holiday season, I was attacked on my channel at least on, I think, a half a dozen different videos. And some of them I answered and some of them I didn't. I just, you know, sometimes you just have to write them off because it's nonsense. I had a woman get on yesterday and today that she repeatedly went over and over and over things, all the way down my comments, going after other people that are making comments on my channel, people that have good intentions and that have open hearts and stuff. And when somebody does that, goes down the thing, then I know that they have a black heart, that they're not open to anything except their self or what they believe, that they may be following one person's opinion and they don't have enough of their own, and so they do stupid stuff like that. That just shows they're infantile. And it shows a lack of intelligence. People that are smart, they get their point across by being direct, and they don't have to be doing it over and over and over. They don't have to. They don't go through on somebody else's channel and start picking on everybody else that's on that channel. Most of the time I try to get them off from there, because once they start picking on the people that are coming in on my channel, then I'm going to remove them. I'm not going to mess with them. They're assholes. They're jerks. That's what they are. Sometimes you have to call a spade what it is. Call a spade a spade. That's what they are. Hopefully most of you agree with what I've said today. Am I tired of seeing all that stuff out there? Yeah. Is there any people that can give an opinion without being just a smart aleck? I've had a few on here come that they give their opinion and it's great. You know, I don't mind it. It didn't agree with mine in any way sometimes, but I didn't take it off because they really believed in their opinion and they had some good reasons for their opinion. They expressed their opinion and didn't go down the line and pick on the other people that had opinion against theirs. They put their opinion on there and then left off from it. They didn't have to repeat it half a dozen times. Some people I've had come into mine, you can see by when it was put in, it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I don't know if they stay up all night trolling different channels. I mean, I've got one I left up that was a real jerk. There was no reason to take it off. I thought, you know, it's time some people see how bad they can be, just as an example, because it's horrendous, the things they come up with. Most of you, I know you don't like some of the channels, but I picked out one that I follow a lot, and that's called Two Leaves in a Pod, and the reason is they bring documentation with them, the real documentation, and eyewitnesses. And they went out of their way to try to make this thing that see the light of day. I have a lot of respect for people that do that. They don't just come on there and tell you something and then walk away from it. They actually research it and then put it out there for us, and we can form our own opinions off from it. We don't have to listen to somebody else explain it and go over it and make jokes out of it and stuff like that. They pretty much are pretty no nonsense about it. Get it out there and let's go. The few times that Bruce has come on there and explained different documents, he's been very good about it. He doesn't try to over-exaggerate anything on there. He just says, here, this is what's going on. And I appreciate those people that are like that. They're upfront and honest. A lot of you come on here and you call names. You call me names. And I don't deserve most of the names that you're doing. And I feel bad for you that you have to use verbiage like that to make you think you feel better or that you're above it all. I don't think that way at all, quite frankly, about me, that I'm above it all. I know I'm not. I'm just a person with an opinion, and I express it on here. That's it. I've been accused of trying to make money off of this thing. I'm telling you, I don't make a nickel. I don't try to. I don't want to. I don't care about it. I'm comfortable where I am in my station in life. I have a great wife that is a good partner. And quite frankly, as long as I've got that, I really don't need anything else. We get through life just fine. Other than that, I don't know what else to say today. Other than, I wish some of you could turn around. Actually, I wish that the good times that I have, that you could have those same good times in your personal life, that you don't need to be upset with a lot of people. You don't need to harangue everybody out there. You don't need to pick on one person and say you want to run them in the ground or stuff like that. I mean, I've heard so many bad things. I don't wish any of that upon any of you. I just wish you could have a life as comfortable as how I feel most of the time. And if I have a bad day, I have a partner that's more than willing to listen, and I listen to her. And we have a cat and a dog, believe it or not, that loves us so much. It wouldn't matter what we say to either one of them. We can chew them out, and they'll be right back there to get petted in a minute or two. Not that we do a lot of chewing out on them. They're both very well behaved. And they get along with each other, believe it or not. We got them when they were young. They're a lot of fun. Anyway, in general, my life is full of all kinds of good things. And the only bad thing I've seen, or at least the worst thing, has been right here on trying to put up a channel up with a little bit of information and a little bit of opinion and get attacked for it. I thought we lived in a country where opinions, you could have them without having people tear you up, and that is absolutely being thrown out the door. So when you come in, please be a little more respectful if you would, because you're welcome to come in here and give an opinion. I don't want you picking on everybody else that has comments out there either. If they get nasty, then hey, it's an open door, right? All right, so I guess that's it. If you want to get along with me, I'm more than willing to get along with you as well, and I hope you do. I don't wish you any will out there. I just wish you'd make sense. And for all those great subscribers on my channel and people that listen, it doesn't matter, you don't have to be a subscriber, by the way. And the people that are willing to come in and listen and take something away with them, whether it's knowledge or whatever, if you can do it without hating, I love it, okay? That's great. For those of you that, if you enjoy it and you want to hit the thumbs up, that's fine. I'm all for it. There's nothing wrong with it. Thumbs up is like a pat on the back sometimes. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, please be free to subscribe. And those that want to leave, don't worry about it. You won't break my heart if you leave. It's just a number on there, nothing else. I know a lot of people worry about it. One of the reasons that I don't monetize it, I have no reason whatsoever to worry about the people that come and go. If they come and go, they come and go because they're enjoying themselves or they're not enjoying themselves. And I think all channels should be set up similar to that. We really don't even need to know if we have 100,000 or 1 million people. Sometimes when you get too many people following, you get a big head. It's like too much money. Money changes your whole psyche. It does. Oh, I bored you enough. So this is it for today. You have a good day if you can. It's mid-afternoon up here, so see y'all later. And as John says, ta-ta.